The massive Galactic Academy training vessel hovered silently above the human colony ship. Inside the Academy ship, two alien cadets hurried through the polished corridor, their six-fingered hands clutching data tablets. "We're going to be late, Zixler!" Vrinta's voice came out in a high-pitched whistle, her blue skin flushed purple with anxiety as she adjusted her Academy uniform. Zixler, taller with gray-green skin and four blinking eyes, matched her quick pace. "Relax, Vrinta. Humans don't mind small delays. At least that's what the cultural briefing said." They were third-year cadets at the prestigious Galactic Academy of Interspecies Studies. Both had been stunned when Commander Krell assigned them to research humans, a species that most of the galaxy considered little more than lucky survivors. The classroom door slid open, revealing Commander Krell. The old Draxian's scaled skin had faded to a pale yellow with age, but his 7 eyes still held the sharpness that made him the Academy's most respected instructor. "Late again, cadets," Krell said. He didn't sound angry, just disappointed, which was worse. "Sorry, Commander," they said together, taking their seats at the front of the empty classroom. "No matter, everyone else has received their assignments," and departed. "You two," Krell tapped his claw against a glowing screen, "will be studying humans." Vrinta's antenna twitched with excitement, while Zixler tried to hide his disappointment. Everyone knew humans were primitive. They'd barely achieved space travel before their planet flooded. What could they possibly learn from them? Commander Krell activated the room's holographic system. A blue-green planet appeared, slowly spinning between them. "Earth," he said. "The human homeworld as it existed 300 years ago." The image shifted, showing the same planet with significantly more water. Cities were partially submerged, with only skyscrapers visible above rising oceans. Earth 50 years later, during what humans called the Great Melt. Another shift showed Earth almost entirely blue. Earth as it exists today. Uninhabitable by land-dwelling species. Zixler raised his hand. "Commander, I don't understand. If their planet flooded, why are we studying humans? Shouldn't they be extinct?" Commander Krell's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "That, Cadet Zixler, is exactly why you're studying them. By all logical projections, humans should have died out. Yet they not only survived, but have become one of the most adaptable species in the galaxy." He tapped his screen again. The image changed to show a massive human ship, at least 10 times larger than their Academy vessel. "This is the human colony ship, Perseverance. Your assignment is to visit this vessel, interview its crew, and discover what makes humans unique among flood-surviving species." Vrinta's eyes widened. "We get to go on a human ship?" "Indeed. They've agreed to host you for 10 cycles. You'll observe their technology, social structures, and most importantly, learn how they transformed what should have been extinction into their greatest asset." Zixler still wasn't convinced. "But Commander, humans don't even have neural implants or telepathic enhancers. Their technology is basic." "Is it?" Commander Krell enlarged the image, focusing on the ship's hull. "Notice anything unusual about their construction?" The cadets studied the image. Finally, Vrinta spoke. "It looks wet?" "Precisely. Humans build with water in mind, always. Their ships can submerge completely if needed. Their systems are designed to function in total flooding. While most species avoid water, humans embrace it." Commander Krell turned off the hologram. "The Galactic Council believes that humans may hold the key to helping other worlds facing climate catastrophe. Your research could help save billions of lives across 16 star systems currently experiencing rising water levels." The cadets sat straighter, suddenly aware of their assignment's importance. "The Perseverance will dock with us in 2 hours. Prepare your equipment and remember, humans are physically fragile but mentally resilient. Treat them with respect." Dismissed. 2 hours later, Zixler and Vrinta stood nervously at the docking bay. The Academy ship shuddered slightly as the human vessel connected. "Do you think they'll be friendly?" Vrinta whispered. Before Zixler could answer, the airlock cycled open. A human woman stepped through. She had dark skin, curly black hair cut short, and wore a blue uniform with several patches and pins. "Welcome to our humble ship," she said, with a smile. "I'm Lieutenant Susan Bailey, diplomatic officer for the Perseverance." The cadets touched their foreheads in the traditional academy greeting. "I am Cadet Zixler of the Rigelian Commonwealth. And I am Cadet Vrinta of the Andromeda Cluster. We thank you for hosting us." Lieutenant Bailey's smile widened. "No need for such formality. Humans appreciate directness. Follow me and watch your step. Our artificial gravity sometimes surprises visitors." As they walked through the connecting tube toward the human ship, Zixelor noticed something odd. The walls weren't dry and sterile like academy corridors. They glistened with a thin layer of moisture. "Why are your walls wet?" he asked. Lieutenant Bailey glanced back. "Good eye, Cadet. That's a hydration layer. All our surfaces can absorb, channel, and utilize water. It's part of our life support system." They entered the Perseverance and both cadets gasped. Unlike the pristine, minimalist design of academy vessels, the human ship buzzed with chaotic life. The corridors curved organically. Water flowed through, transparent tubes along the ceiling. Plants grew from pockets in the walls. "This looks more like a garden than a spaceship," Vrinta said. "That's intentional," Lieutenant Bailey explained. "When we left Earth, we took pieces of it with us. Every system serves multiple purposes. Those plants clean our air, provide food, and maintain our water cycle." As they moved deeper into the ship, they passed dozens of humans of different colors, sizes, and ages. Children ran through side corridors laughing. Older humans tended to gardens growing in spiraling towers. "Your ship seems inefficient," Zixler observed. "There's so much open space." Lieutenant Bailey nodded. "By your standards, yes, but humans need room to move, to gather, to live fully. Efficiency isn't always about using the least space." She led them to a large circular room with windows facing out into space. An older human male stood there, looking at stars. His hair was white, his face lined with age marks. He wore a dark blue uniform with more decorations than Lieutenant Bailey's. "Captain," Bailey called, "the Academy cadets have arrived." The man turned, examining them with keen eyes that seemed to see more than just their physical forms. "Welcome, aboard the Perseverance. I'm Captain Frank Winters." His voice was deep and slightly rough. "I understand you want to know why humans didn't drown when our world did?" Zixler nodded. "Commander Krell says your species should have gone extinct, yet here you are." Captain Winters laughed. "Here we are indeed." He gestured to the viewing window. "Do you know what we see when we look out there? Not just stars and emptiness, but potential. Humans have always faced disasters, floods most of all. Water shaped us long before it claimed our world." Vrinta tilted her head. "But how did you survive when your technology was so much less advanced than other species who faced similar floods?" The captain's face grew serious. "That's what you're here to understand. We didn't survive despite the floods." He paused, his eyes reflecting starlight. "We survived because of them." Captain Winters led the two alien cadets through the winding corridors of the Perseverance. Zixler noticed how the humans they passed nodded respectfully to the captain. Some even smiled at the aliens, showing no fear of their strange appearances. "Where are we going?" Vrinta asked, her blue skin shifting to a curious purple shade. "To our history room," Captain Winters replied. "If you want to understand why we survived the floods, you need to see where it all began." They entered a large circular chamber. The lights dimmed as they stepped inside. A tall, thin human male with glasses waited for them near a control panel. "This is Dr. Alan Rivers, our ship's historian," Captain Winters said. Dr. Rivers adjusted his glasses and smiled. "Welcome to Earth's memory." He pressed a button and suddenly the room transformed. The walls, floor, and ceiling disappeared, replaced by an image of a blue-green planet. "Ancient Earth," Dr. Rivers explained, "as it existed thousands of years ago." The image zoomed in, showing a river valley with simple mud houses. People in primitive clothing worked near the water. "These were among our earliest civilizations," Dr. Rivers continued. "Notice where they built their homes. Always near rivers." Zixler watched with interest. "But rivers flood. Why build so close to danger?" Excellent question. Dr. Rivers nodded. Water was both life and death to early humans. They needed it to drink, to grow food, to travel. They accepted the risk of flooding for these benefits. The image shifted, showing primitive dams and canals. These are some of our first technologies, Captain Winters added. Not weapons or communication devices, but ways to control water. Dr. Rivers tapped his control pad and the scene changed to show an ancient city with an elaborate system of water channels. This is Mesopotamia, over 5,000 years ago. They created irrigation systems that could control flooding and direct water to crops. Vrinta's antenna twitched with surprise. So humans were managing floods even before they had advanced technology? Exactly, Dr. Rivers replied. Other species tried to avoid water. We learned to work with it. The simulation changed again, showing different civilizations across Earth. Chinese farmers building terraced rice fields that captured floodwaters. Egyptian engineers measuring the Nile's yearly floods. Dutch builders creating massive dikes to hold back the sea. Each time water threatened us, Captain Winters explained, we developed new solutions. It shaped how we think about problems. The door slid open, and Lieutenant Bailey entered with another human. This one was a woman with light brown skin and curly hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore a red uniform with tools hanging from her belt. This is Chief Engineer Olivia Martinez, Lieutenant Bailey introduced her. Engineer Martinez nodded to the aliens. I heard you wanted to understand our relationship with water. Captain Winters gestured to her. Olivia's family helped design the water systems on this ship. Her great-grandparents lived through the Great Melt. Dr. Rivers changed the simulation again. Now they stood in the middle of a flooded city. Tall buildings rose from the water. Humans moved between them in small boats. Others lived in structures built on top of partially submerged skyscrapers. This was New York City during the early flooding, Engineer Martinez explained. My great-grandmother was there. When the oceans rose, most species would have abandoned their cities. We adapted them instead. The simulation showed humans installing floating platforms between buildings, creating gardens on rooftops, and setting up water collection systems. Most galactic species see technology as a way to overcome nature, Engineer Martinez continued. We saw it as a way to work with nature. That's the difference. Zixler watched as the simulation changed to show more advanced floating cities. But eventually the waters rose too high, didn't they? You had to leave Earth. Captain Winters nodded solemnly. Yes. But not before we learned everything we could from our drowning world. The simulation shifted again, showing massive ship construction, yards built on the last remaining mountaintops. Thousands of humans worked together, building enormous vessels. These were our first colony ships, Dr. Rivers explained. While other species might have fought over the remaining dry land, we pooled our resources and looked to the stars. Vrinta looked confused. But why didn't you just build underwater cities? Your technology seems capable of it. Engineer Martinez smiled. We did. The simulation changed to show massive domes on the ocean floor. Inside, humans lived and worked surrounded by water. Even now, some humans still live on Earth deep beneath the waves, Captain Winters said. We never fully abandoned our home. Lieutenant Bailey touched a control panel on the wall. The simulation faded, returning them to the plane room. But that doesn't explain how you turned flooding into an advantage, Zixler said. You're right, Captain Winters agreed. For that, we need to show you our technology. He led them out of the history room and down another corridor. This one had transparent walls showing water flowing all around them. This is our main water processing center, Engineer Martinez explained. Every drop of water on this ship is continuously cleaned, used, and recycled. They stopped at a large window overlooking an enormous chamber filled with plants growing in spiral patterns. Water flowed around and through the entire system. On other ships, life support and food production are separate systems, Engineer Martinez continued. For us, they're the same. The water nurtures the plants clean the water and air, and both feed us. Zixler pressed his 4 eyes close to the glass. It's so interconnected. Exactly, Captain Winters nodded. When your planet is drowning, you learn to see water not as your enemy, but as your most valuable resource. Every human technology is designed with water in mind. To use it, to move it, to live with it. Dr. Rivers stepped forward. Would you like to see something few non-humans have ever witnessed? The alien cadets nodded eagerly. Follow me, he said, leading them toward a sealed door marked with water symbols. It's time to show you how we turned the Great Flood into the Great Opportunity. As the door opened, a rush of humid air hit them. Beyond the threshold was something that made both alien cadets gasp in wonder. This, Captain Winters said with pride in his voice, is how humans survived when all logic said we should have perished. This is our true legacy from Earth. Beyond the doorway was a vast chamber filled with water. Not a room containing water tanks or pipes, but a space that was almost entirely liquid. Suspended within this massive aquarium were bubbles of various sizes, transparent spheres containing labs, living spaces, and gardens. Welcome to the heart of perseverance, Captain Winters said proudly. Zixler and Vrinta stood frozen in amazement. They watched humans swim freely through the water between bubbles, some wearing simple breathing masks, others appearing to breathe the water itself. How are they breathing underwater? Vrinta asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Engineer. Martinez smiled. Modified lungs. Some of us chose to adapt our bodies when technology gave us the option. We call them gill grafts. They're not actual fish gills, but artificial lung extensions that can extract oxygen from water. Dr. Rivers pointed to a nearby platform. We'll take that bubble car to the central hub. Don't worry, it's completely safe. The bubble car was a transparent sphere that opened as they approached. The four of them stepped inside and the door sealed shut. With a soft hum, the bubble detached from the platform and moved smoothly into the water. This is incredible, Zixler said as they glided between the suspended chambers. Your entire ship is designed around water, not against it. Captain Winters nodded. That's the key insight you're looking for. Most species fight against environmental challenges. Humans adapt to them. We don't try to keep water out. We invite it in and make it work for us. Their bubble arrived at a large central sphere. Inside, humans worked at various stations surrounded by plants, fish tanks, and flowing water channels. A wall of screens displayed information about the ship's systems. As they exited the bubble car, a man approached them. He was shorter than Captain Winters, with broad shoulders and a serious expression. His dark uniform had security markings on the shoulders. Cadets, this is Security Chief Daniel Peterson, Lieutenant Bailey introduced him. He oversees the safety of everyone on the Perseverance. Chief Peterson gave a short nod. The Academy informed us you're researching how we survived the floods. Follow me. I have something to show you. He led them through the central hub to a smaller chamber. Unlike the rest of the ship, this room was dry and contained display cases like a museum. This is our Heritage Hall, Chief Peterson explained. These are the technologies that allowed us to survive when Earth flooded. The first display contained what looked like a simple mask with tubes. Our first underwater breathing apparatus, Peterson said. Nothing special by galactic standards, but it changed how we viewed water, not as a barrier but as a space we could inhabit. He moved to the next case, which held a small device the size of a human finger. Portable water purifier. When clean water became scarce, we developed ways to make any water drinkable. Later versions could extract moisture from air, plants, even waste. Vrinta stepped closer to examine it. Such simple technology. Simple but effective, Chief Peterson corrected. When your world is drowning, complex systems fail. We learned to make technology that could be repaired with basic tools that wouldn't break easily. Zixler moved to another display, a cube of clear material with smaller cubes inside it. What's this? He asked. Pressure-resistant building material, Engineer Martinez explained. When we started building underwater, we needed materials that could withstand enormous pressure but still let light through. This compound made our underwater cities possible. They continued through the gallery, examining seeds engineered to grow in saltwater, clothing that could convert body heat to electricity, and floating habitats made from recycled materials. Most species, Peterson explained, when faced with environmental collapse, either perish or flee. Humans did something unexpected. We adapted our technology to the new reality faster than evolution could have adapted our bodies. He stopped at the final display, a hologram showing Earth as it looked now, almost entirely covered in water. "This is home," Captain Winter said softly. "Most of our people left, but some stayed behind in underwater cities. They're still there, developing new aquatic technologies." Dr. Rivers added, "The water level is starting to stabilize now. In another 1,000 years, new land might emerge. Humans will be there to greet it, whether they come from underwater cities or return from the stars." Zixler looked confused. "But if your species adapted so well to water, why leave Earth at all?" Captain Winters smiled sadly. "Because we learned another lesson from the floods. Don't keep all your people in one place. If another disaster comes, humans will survive somewhere, even if not everywhere." They returned to the central hub where a new human waited for them. She was older, with gray hair and dark skin marked with age spots. She wore a white coat with scientific symbols. "Cadets, this is Dr. Nicole West, our xenobiologist," Lieutenant Bailey introduced her. Dr. West studied them with kind eyes. "I understand. You're trying to figure out why humans survived when other species facing similar floods did not." "Yes," Vrinta replied. "Your technology is impressive, but not advanced enough to explain your survival." Dr. West chuckled. "That's because technology was only part of the solution. Come with me." She led them to yet another bubble car, and they traveled through the water to a smaller sphere. Inside was what appeared to be a classroom. The walls displayed images of different alien species. "These are the 16 other civilizations that faced planetary flooding," Dr. West explained. 14 went extinct. 2 managed to escape to colony worlds but lost most of their technology in the process. Zixler studied the images. "What made humans different?" "Watch," Dr. West said. She activated a simulation showing how each species responded to rising waters. Some built higher, others tried to stop the floods, and a few attempted to leave their planets entirely. "Notice what humans did differently?" she asked. The cadets watched the human simulation. Unlike the others, humans didn't focus on a single solution. They built higher, created floating cities, developed underwater habitats, and launched space colonies, all simultaneously. "You didn't commit to just one approach," Vrinta realized. "Exactly," Captain Winters said. "When disaster strikes, most species look for the perfect solution. Humans try everything and see what works." Engineer Martinez added, "We call it adaptive redundancy. No single system is perfect, so we create multiple systems that work together." Dr. West nodded. "That's why humans survived when others didn't. Not because our technology was better, but because we never put all our hopes in one solution." She gestured around them. "This ship isn't just a vessel for traveling through space. It's a laboratory, a habitat, and a living record of everything we learned from the floods." Security Chief Peterson's serious expression softened slightly. "And now we're sharing what we learned with the galaxy. The Galactic Council contracted us to help 16 worlds currently facing rising water levels." Captain Winters turned to the cadets. "Now you understand part of the story. But to truly grasp why humans are considered the galaxy's survivors, there's one more experience you need to have." "What's that?" Zixler asked. "You need to survive a flood yourselves," the captain replied. "Tomorrow, you'll participate in our most important training program, what every human child experiences by the age of 10. Vrinta's antenna twitched nervously. "You're going to flood part of your ship?" The humans all smiled. Captain Winters shook his head. "No need," he said. "We have something much better." Zixler woke early the next morning in the guest quarters assigned to the alien cadets. The room was comfortable but noticeably different from academy accommodations. Plants grew from wall niches. A small stream of water circulated through clear channels in the floor. Even the bed adjusted to his body like a water-filled cushion. Vrinta was already awake, her blue skin bright with excitement. Today we experienced their flood training. I could hardly sleep thinking about it. I'm more curious about what Captain Winters meant by something better than flooding the ship, Zixler replied as he straightened his uniform. A soft chime sounded, and Lieutenant Bailey's voice came through the room's communication system. Cadets, breakfast is ready in the common area. After that, we'll proceed to the simulation chamber. They found the common area busy with humans eating, talking, and planning their day. Children ran between tables while adults drank from steaming cups and looked at data screens. Lieutenant Bailey waved them over to a table where Captain Winters sat with Dr. West and a new human they hadn't met before. Good morning, Captain Winters greeted them. This is Joe Miller, our simulation director. Joe was younger than the other humans they'd met, with light skin and red hair. He smiled and passed them plates of food. I've adjusted these to be safe for your species, Joe explained. We checked with your academy about dietary needs. Zixler looked at his plate with interest. The food was arranged in small piles of different colors and textures. Unlike academy nutrition blocks, this food looked like actual plants and proteins. Everything on your plates was grown right here on the Perseverance, Dr. West told them. We're completely self-sufficient. As they ate, Joe explained what would happen next. Today, you'll experience the flood, our basic survival training program. Every human goes through this starting as children. It teaches us not just how to survive water disasters, but how to think like survivors. Vrinta's antenna twitched with concern. Is it dangerous? Captain Winters laughed. Only to your pride. It's challenging but perfectly safe. After breakfast, Joe led them to a different section of the ship. They entered a large chamber with blank walls and a smooth floor. Several other humans waited there, wearing simple gray uniforms. These are our simulation technicians, Joe introduced them. They'll be monitoring everything to ensure your safety. One of the technicians handed each cadet a small device that looked like a thin collar. Neural interfaces, Joe explained. They'll connect you to the simulation. The experience will feel completely real, but you can exit any time by saying, emergency. Stop 3 times in a row. Zixler examined the device skeptically. Our species' neural structure is different from humans. Will this work properly? We've adjusted them based on Academy medical records, Dr. West assured him. We've tested them thoroughly on non-human physiology. With some hesitation, the cadets put on the collars. They felt cool against their skin, but otherwise unremarkable. Ready? Joe asked. They nodded. Simulation start, Joe commanded. The world around them shimmered and changed. Suddenly, they were standing on a small island of concrete in the middle of a vast, flooded city. Buildings rose from the water around them, many partially submerged. The sky was dark with storm clouds. Rain fell steadily. Though they knew it wasn't real, both cadets felt wet and cold. The water lapped at the edges of their small safe space, which seemed to be the roof of a submerged building. A human voice spoke from nowhere. Welcome to Survival Scenario 1. Your objective is to survive for 3 days until rescue arrives. You must secure water, food, and shelter while maintaining your position for rescuers to find you. Zixler looked around at their limited resources, some broken furniture, a few sealed containers, scraps of material, and some tools. Nothing that immediately helped their situation. What do we do? Vrinta asked, her skin turning a pale blue with anxiety. We think like humans, Zixler replied. Remember what they showed us? Humans adapt to challenges instead of just fighting against them. They examined their surroundings more carefully. The water wasn't just a threat. It was also a resource and a means of travel. The rain could be collected for drinking. The floating debris could become a shelter or a raft. Working together, they began gathering what they needed. They created a rain collection system using scrap materials. They built a small shelter from the furniture and waterproof fabric they found. They even fashioned crude fishing tools to catch food. By the time the simulation's first day ended, they had secured their basic needs. As simulated night fell, they sat in their makeshift shelter, surprisingly pleased with their progress. I think I understand now, Vrinta said quietly. Humans don't see floods as just disasters. They see opportunities within the challenge. Exactly, a new voice said. They turned to see Captain Winters standing beside them in the simulation, though he hadn't been there before. This program isn't about teaching specific survival techniques, he explained. It's about training a mindset. The flood is just a metaphor for any overwhelming challenge. The simulation froze around them, the raindrops hanging motionless in the air. You've done well for beginners, Captain Winters said. But for humans, this is just level 1. We have thousands of variations of this scenario with different challenges and resources. Some last for months of simulated time. The world shimmered again, and they were back in the simulation chamber. Joe and the technicians were smiling. Impressive adaptation, Joe said. Most first-timers panic and try to fight the water instead of working with it. Dr. West stepped forward. This training isn't just for flood scenarios. It shapes how humans approach all problems. When our ships encounter space anomalies or when we colonize new worlds, we apply the same adaptive thinking. Captain Winters nodded. Now you're beginning to understand why humans survived when other species didn't. It wasn't our technology that saved us, it was our mindset. We saw the floods not as the end of our civilization, but as the beginning of a new one. Lieutenant Bailey, who had been watching from the side, joined them. The Galactic Council originally thought we survived by luck. Now they're starting to realize it was something else. Not luck, Zixler said thoughtfully. Purpose. You turned disaster into opportunity. Yes, Captain Winters agreed. And that's what we're teaching other worlds now. Not just how to build flood barriers, but how to rethink their relationship with their changing environments. Dr. West smiled at the cadets. Before you return to your academy, there's one more thing we'd like to show you. Something few non-humans have ever seen. What is it? Vrinta asked. A gift, Captain Winters said. From our drowning world to the stars. On their final day aboard the Perseverance, Zixler and Vrinta followed Captain Winters to a secure section of the ship they hadn't visited before. Lieutenant Bailey and Dr. West accompanied them, along with Engineer Martinez and Security Chief Peterson. What you're about to see is something we don't show to many visitors, Captain Winters explained as they walked through a heavily secured doorway. It's the true heart of not just this ship but of all human survival technology. Beyond the door was a simple room with white walls. In the center stood a clear column filled with water. Floating in the water was what appeared to be a small, blue sphere about the size of a human fist. Is that Earth? Vrinta asked, her antenna stretching toward the display. No, Dr. West said softly. That's Earth's gift to us. We call it the Genesis seed. The humans gathered around the column with expressions of deep respect. Captain Winters placed his hand on the glass. When Earth's flooding reached critical levels, our scientists made an incredible discovery in the deepest parts of our oceans, he explained. Life forms that could survive extreme pressure, temperature, and even radiation. Organisms that had existed unchanged for billions of years. Engineer Martinez continued. From these ancient life forms, we developed something new. A biological matrix that can adapt to almost any environment and help other life forms adapt too. Dr. West motioned for the cadets to look closer at the floating sphere. Inside, they could see constant movement, like tiny currents of energy flowing in patterns. This is a dormant Genesis seed, she explained. Every human colony ship carries one. When we find a new world that needs help, whether too dry, too cold, or even flooded like Earth, we can activate the seed. Security Chief Peterson, normally so serious, showed a rare smile. It doesn't terraform planets the way old science fiction imagined. It doesn't change the planet to suit us. Instead, it helps us and other life forms adapt to the planet. Zixler's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he processed this information. So the 16 worlds the Galactic Council asked you to help? Yes, Captain Winters nodded. We're not just offering them technology or evacuation. We're offering them a chance to adapt, to evolve their relationship with their changing planets. Lieutenant Bailey touched a control panel, and a holographic display appeared above the Genesis seed. It showed various planets where the seeds had been deployed, worlds with rising oceans, extreme weather, or other environmental challenges. In each case, the images showed how life had adapted rather than perished. The seed accelerates natural adaptation, Dr. West explained. It doesn't force change, but it opens possibilities. It's like having millions of years of evolution available in a single generation. Vrinta's blue skin rippled with emotion. This is why the Galactic Council values human expertise so highly. Not because of your technology, but because of this, living technology. We prefer to call it partnership technology, Engineer Martinez corrected gently. The seed doesn't work unless the species chooses to adapt with it. It requires conscious participation. Captain Winters stepped back from the display. The great irony is that we would never have discovered this if Earth hadn't flooded. The organisms we needed were only found in the deepest ocean trenches, areas we never explored until we were forced to by rising waters. So you really did survive because of the floods, not despite them, Zixler said, finally understanding Captain Winters' earlier statement. Yes, the captain replied. The flood was our greatest teacher. It showed us that survival isn't about fighting against change. It's about flowing with it, adapting to it, and ultimately, growing from it. Security Chief Peterson checked his wrist device. The Academy vessel will dock for your return in 1 hour. We should head to the transport bay. As they walked back through the ship, Zixler and Vrinta saw it all with new eyes. The flowing water, the integrated systems, the plants growing everywhere. It wasn't just clever design. It was a philosophy made visible. When they reached the docking area, Captain Winters handed each cadet a small, clear pendant containing a tiny drop of blue liquid, water from Earth's original oceans, he explained. Not many of these left. Consider it a reminder of what you learned here. Lieutenant Bailey added, every human carries one. It reminds us where we came from and what we learned from our drowning world. Dr. West gave them each a data crystal. Your official report for the Academy. It contains all the technical information you'll need, but remember, the most important things you learned can't be put into technical terms. The aliens were surprised when all the humans they'd met during their stay gathered to see them off. Even the children came waving goodbye. One last thing, Captain Winters said as they prepared to board the transport tube back to their Academy vessel. The Galactic Council is planning a new initiative, joint research teams studying climate adaptation across multiple species. They're looking for Academy graduates to participate. Vrinta's antenna perked up with interest. Really? Yes, Lieutenant Bailey smiled. Your Commander Krell recommended you two specifically for this assignment. After your report, I suspect, you'll be prime candidates. Zixler felt a strange sense of pride. We would be honored to continue this research. Good. Captain Winters extended his hand in the human greeting gesture of shaking hands. Because we're going to need all the help we can get. Earth wasn't the only world facing environmental change, just the first to face it on such a scale. Your homeworlds may be next. As they said their goodbyes and entered the transport tube, Vrinta clutched her pendant tightly. Do you think we can really help other worlds adapt the way humans did? I think we have to try, Zixler replied. That's what I learned from humans. There's always a way to adapt if you're willing to change your perspective. 2 weeks later, they presented their findings to a full assembly at the Academy. Commander Krell watched with obvious pride as his two formerly unremarkable students delivered the most comprehensive analysis of human survival techniques ever compiled by non-humans. When they finished, the Academy's grand instructor, an ancient, being rarely impressed by student work, approached them. Your report suggests that humans survived because they possess something most species lack. Not technology, not resources, but a unique perspective on challenge and change, the grand instructor said. Do you believe this perspective can be taught to other species? Zixler and Vrinta exchanged glances before Zixler answered. We do, Grand Instructor. In fact, we've already learned it ourselves. Vrinta added, the humans have a saying. It's not the strongest species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change. As they left the assembly hall, both cadets wore their earth-water pendants visibly outside their uniforms. Small blue reminders that sometimes Survival comes not from fighting against the flood, but from learning to swim.